After Ahmed was released, he did what the best of people do. What did he do? He forgave all of those who harmed him, with the exception to the chief innovators, who he believed could not be given the benefit of the doubt. They were doing what they were doing consciously and upon knowledge. Everyone else was forgiven, including the ones who were lashing him. And Ahmad would recite the ayah, وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Let them pardon and let them overlook. Don't you want that Allah should forgive you? And Ahmad would say beautiful heart-warming or heart-melting words. He would say, مَاذَا يَنْفَعُكَ أَنْ يُعَذَّبَ أَخُوكَ الْمُسْلِمِ فِي سَبِيلِكَ. How will you benefit, Ahmad would say, how will you benefit if your brother is punished because of you? How will you benefit? Pardon if your brother is punished because of you. Ahmad, however, had taken an oath in Allah's name that he would not speak to anyone from the Muslims, particularly the scholars who gave in to the innovators and testified to their beliefs. Even if it was just outwardly, of course, till the day he died, he won't speak to them. And this included his lifelong friend and travel mate, Yahya ibn Ma'in. And Yahya ibn Ma'in was 7 years older than Ahmad. Ahmad stopped talking to him. Yahya once came to visit Imam Ahmad during his illness. Yahya greeted him with salam. Ahmad didn't return his greeting. Yahya apologized to Imam Ahmad and he sought to excuse himself and he gave justifications as per why he professed to their beliefs when they were interrogating him, and he was quoting an ayah from the Quran and a hadith from the Sunnah which excused people who testify to false beliefs under duress. Ahmad kept his face turned away from Yahya. He didn't even look at him. Yahya said to Ahmad, you don't want to accept any of my excuses. So Yahya walked out of the door and he just sat outside in grief. Then another person who was with them in that room, his name is Abu Bakr, he came out and he sat next to Yahya. Yahya said to Abu Bakr, what did Ahmad say after I left? What did he say to you? Abu Bakr said, Ahmad said that all of those narrations that you are quoting, they are in reference to people who were under actual duress. They were being punished. So Allah gave them the excuse when they testified to false beliefs. They were under duress. He said, but people like you, they were threatened with duress and then they succumbed to them. You were merely threatened and then you succumbed. Upon hearing this, Yahya ibn Ma'in, he said to himself, O Ahmad, instruct as you wish, do as you wish. May Allah forgive you. Because by Allah, I have never seen any human being beneath the sky who has greater understanding of Allah's religion than you. Ya Allah. Some of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal's statement before we conclude. Imam Ahmad would say, ما قل في الدنيا كان أقل للحساب. The lesser a person's worldly possessions are, the easier the accountability will be. Another one of Imam Ahmad's beautiful statements, he would say, أنا أطلب العلم إلى أن أدخل القبر. I will continue to pursue knowledge till the day I enter my grave. And someone once said to Imam Ahmad, when they saw him carrying his ink pot and his paper, they said, Father of Abdullah, you still carry around your pens and papers despite having become the Imam of the Muslims? Like running around like a student with your pen and paper? You've become the Imam of the Muslims. He said, مع المحبرة إلى المقبرة. With the ink pot to the graveyard. With the ink pot to the graveyard. And Imam Ahmad was once asked the question, how are you this morning? Listen to this response, brothers and sisters, and take note of it. Shows you who Imam Ahmad was and how he thought and how he saw the world. How are you this morning? He said, كيف أصبح من ربه يطالبه بأداء الفرائض. How is the morning of a person who has a Lord who demands from us the obligations? وَنَبِيُّهُ يُطَالِبُهُ بِأَدَاءِ السُّنَّةِ. And he has a prophet who is demanding that he carries out his teachings. وَالْمَلَكَانِ يُطَالِبَانِهِ بِتَصْحِيحِ الْعَمَلِ. And he has two angels demanding that he corrects his actions. وَنَفْسُهُ تُطَالِبُهُ بِهَوَاهَا. And he has a soul that demands its desires. وَإِبْلِيسُ يُطَالِبُهُ بِالْفَحْشَاءِ. And shaitan is demanding that he commits sins. وَمَلَكُ الْمَوْتِ يُرَاقِبُ قَبْضَ رُوحِهِ, and the angel of death who is eagerly awaiting to claim his soul. وَعِيَالُهُ يُطَالِبُونَهُ بِالنَّفَقَةِ, and a family who are demanding their expenditure. Wow, what a response to the question, how are you this morning? But that's how Ahmad was. All of these things are demanding things from me. Allah has rights, the Prophet has rights. My soul is demanding things, angel of death and family. That is a man who was conscious of Allah. And this is one of Ahmad's statements. As for the death of Imam Ahmad, it was during the reign of Al-Mutawakkil, where the illness of Ahmad intensified and it weakened his body, but he would continue fasting. Al-Mutawakkil would send his doctors, Ibn Masawayhi, his personal doctor, to Ahmad to treat him and prescribe medicines, and Ahmad would not take any of the medication. So Ibn Masawayhi told the Khalifa that Ahmad's not ill. It's his continuous fasting and his minimal food and his intense worship that's fatiguing his body. La ilaha illallah. During his dying moments, Ahmad managed to indicate to his family that he wants wudu to be carried out on his body, and he communicated his wishes that his fingers are to be washed and water is to be passed through his fingers as well, in keeping with the sunnah, right down to his last breath. And when they had completed the wudu and his body was pure, during the forenoon of Friday in the year 241 after the Hijrah, in the month of Rabi'ul Awwal, the blessed soul of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal would return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was estimated that his funeral was attended by 800,000 people. There are other narrations that predict it was around 1.3 million people, and there are some narrations, Allah knows best how true they are, that estimates 2.5 million people. And what is interesting is that Imam Ahmad used to say in his life, قُولُوا لِأَهْلِ الْبِدَعِ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ يَوْمُ الْجَنَائِزِ. Ahmad used to say in his life, say to the innovators, the funeral processions shall determine who is upon the truth. The funeral processions shall determine who is upon the truth. And look at the funeral procession of Ahmad. His intuition, his prediction was correct. As Abdul Wahhab al-Warraq, he said that we don't know of a funeral procession, whether during Islam or pre-Islam, that was larger than the funeral procession of Imam Ahmad. And then you take a look at the funeral procession of Ahmad ibn Abi Du'ad, the one who was really the cause of so much suffering of Imam Ahmad. His funeral procession was largely abandoned, barely attended. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal.